October of 2013, the loose board at the top of the stairs gave one short squeak. The sound it made when someone put weight on it for only just a moment. In the bedroom down the hall, a boy went still. He watched the blue digits of the alarm clock beside his bed long enough for them to change from 3:12 to 3:15. Then his bedroom door eased inward. Hallway light was off. A shape stood in the doorway and made the darkness there deeper. The figure crossed the carpet soundlessly. When it reached the bed, the boy saw a milky white face in the glow of the clock. The boy did not dare move. He recognized the face looking down at him. The man was paler than he'd looked on the news. He had long black hair, and his head tilted to the side, as if one eye were chasing the other. His mouth was wrong in a way that the blurry picture had not shown. One bloodied corner stretched halfway to his ear, as if he were a doll whose face had split at the seam. He wore a white hoodie the same color as his face. One hand hung beside him, holding a long knife. As the man leaned toward him, the boy shut his eyes. The boy let his mouth hang open. He counted 4 breaths, then 4 more. He made sure to make the last 2 uneven, because people who were asleep didn't count their breaths by Mississippi's. For a moment, there was nothing. Then 3 words.
Go to sleep.
The boy almost ran then. His knees tightened beneath the blanket, but he forced them loose. He wouldn't make it if he ran. Even if he could get past the figure, the fire route his mother had made him practice was hard enough without someone chasing him. Window, garage roof, drop and run to Mrs. Palmer's yard. No, he wouldn't make it. The edge of the blanket lifted beside his shoulder. A sleeve brushed against it, soft enough that he could pretend he hadn't heard it. Then the blanket settled. The boy waited for the loose board at the top of the stairs to squeak again, but it never did. 14 months earlier, on August 26th of 2012, Jeff learned that it was possible to get a new couch around the corner between the front hallway and the living room, as long as management stopped giving him advice. "You're scraping the wall," Mom said from the foyer. Then, "Oops, sorry, that was advice. That was a fact," Jeff said. His forearm shook under the weight. Facts are allowed. Lou was mostly hidden behind the arm at the other end of the couch. "Rotate on 3. You always start at 2. Then be ready." They lifted higher. Jeff's shoulders ached as the couch cleared the stair rail by half an inch, skimmed the open doorway, and dropped into the living room hard enough to bounce. Their mom, Rebecca, stepped in with one hand on her hip. Jeff and Lou bowed simultaneously. Their father, Daniel, came through the front door carrying 2 dining chairs. Dirt streaked the front of his shirts, and his hair was stuck flat. "I see management succeeded," he said. "Management watched," Jeff said. "Management rented the truck." Daniel set the chairs down like they were glass, which was funny considering how he'd loaded everything else. He coordinated warehouse shipments for an industrial supply company and could make a late truck in Beaumont sound like an insult. Today he had 4 rooms, 30 boxes, and no idea which box went where. The family's new house was one of 100 late 90s brick houses in Cedar Trace. Short driveway, dying front lawn, garage sticking out from the front left corner. The air conditioner made a lot of noise without cooling much, and every room smelled like cardboard. Jeff carried 2 boxes upstairs and found Lou looking out his bedroom window. The garage roof sat about 3 feet below it. "Nice," Lou said. "Emergency balcony." When he tried to raise the window, it stopped after 2 inches. Jeff leaned over his shoulder. "Nice. You can let your hands breathe." Lou shoved the frame, but old paint held it in place. "Just wait," he said. "I'll fix it." They went outside to check out the backyard. The side gate sagged so badly that it only latched if you lifted it with one hand while pulling with the other. Mom called them into the kitchen to help put the dishes away. She did medical billing from home 3 days a week and had already decided where almost everything in the kitchen belonged. The knock at the front door came while Jeff was trying to decide whether an oven mitt went with the pots or the towels. By the time he reached the door, Lou and Mom were already there. The door was open. Tasha Calder from just across the street stood on the porch with 2 sweating cups of sweet tea. She invited them to her son Milo's 7th birthday at the end of September and said her nephew went to their high school. "Randy will show you around at school," she said, "and maybe around the neighborhood too. He usually comes over after school. His mom works late." Mom accepted the invitation and the new friend before either boy could answer. After Tasha left, Lou looked at Jeff and sighed. "A signed friend. Hey, maybe he comes with a map," Jeff said. Lou laughed. "Maybe he'll carry our books." I'm making him carry the couch back out when we move again. By dark, Jeff's white zip hoodie hung over the chair in his new room. He wore it most days anyway, and it was the only clean thing he had for school tomorrow. He lay awake listening to the house settle. Pipes, vents, a dog that barked every few minutes. Footsteps crossed the hall once, twice, and then for the third time. Jeff got up and found Lou walking back to bed with a glass of water and a YouTube video playing too loud on his phone. What time is it? Jeff asked. Like 11:30? We've got school. Yeah? Lou got into bed and under the blanket without closing the video. Jeff stood in the doorway and used the low, stupid voice he'd used back when they shared a room and he was trying to scare Lou before bed. Go to sleep. Lou laughed, then threw a pillow at Jeff, but missed. By the second Friday of school, Jeff knew the bus was late more often than not, and that his white hoodie was a bad choice in the Texas heat. That morning, they were still half a block from the bus stop when Jeff saw Randy Calder sitting on Mateo Alvarez's backpack. The bus was already 15 minutes late. Mateo was 11, or maybe 12, and lived 3 houses down from them. He stood in front of Randy with one hand out while Randy ate one of Mateo's Pop-Tarts. Keith Bell leaned against the utility box beside them, clicking a folding comb open and shut. Roy Maddox stood closer to the curb. He was taller than Randy and broad through the shoulders, with his t-shirt tight around his upper arms. The other kids bunched up away from him. My lunch is in there, Mateo cried as Randy dug his butt deeper into his backpack. Randy laughed, finished the Pop-Tart, and tossed the wrapper onto the ground. Mateo reached for his backpack, but Randy leaned back on it harder. Lou slowed, but Jeff squared his shoulders and kept walking toward Randy and Mateo. Don't, Lou said. What? Jeff asked. You know what. Nia came toward the stop from the opposite end of the block, soccer bag over one shoulder. Lou had already asked her twice when freshman soccer tryouts started. She bumped him as she passed and nodded toward Randy. He's collecting fares again. Lou looked at Mateo. What did he take this time? Breakfast, apparently. A woman loading a little girl and some bags into a car called across the street. Morning, Randy. Randy stood so fast that Mateo nearly fell trying to grab his backpack. Morning, Mrs. Kemp. Need help with that? I've got it, honey. Yes, ma'am. Randy waited until her car door shut, then patted Mateo on the head and smiled at the rest of them. Randy let Mateo grab his backpack. He glanced at his phone, then propped it against an energy drink on top of the utility box. It was recording. Then he looked at Lou. New kids ride free the first week. We've been here for 2 weeks, Lou said. That's what I'm saying. Randy held out his hand. Lou grabbed Randy's hand and shook. Thanks. Nia laughed. Randy laughed with her and kept hold of Lou's hand. Bone, Randy said. No. Just till the bus comes. No. Keith's comb snapped shut. Roy rubbed one eye and looked up the road as if searching for the bus. Randy released Lou. Okay. It sounded finished. Lou started past him. Then, Randy hooked 2 fingers to the loose front pocket of Lou's drawstring bag and pulled him back. When the bag slipped off Lou's shoulder, Keith caught it by the strap. While Lou twisted toward Keith, Randy lifted the phone straight from Lou's hand. Seriously? Lou said. Randy held the phone just high enough that Lou would have to jump for it. Troy took the drawstring bag from Keith and looped it over his forearm. I get 1 minute with your phone, Randy said. Then full service is restored. There's nothing on it, Lou said, struggling to keep his voice loose, but Jeff saw his thumb rub twice against the side of his jeans. You're going to hate my music. I already do. Randy woke the screen. A message preview sat at the top. He read it out loud. The text said, Tell your brother to give us some space. Aw, Randy said. Give him his phone back, Nia said. Randy looked at her. You always as helpful? Only when somebody's being an asshole. 2 of the kids laughed. Randy looked at them before he looked back at her. Jeff shifted his backpack off one shoulder. Lou glanced at Jeff and shook his head small and quick, as if to say, Stay out of this. That was their deal. Lou handled his own problems. Jeff only stepped in if somebody was getting hurt. At their old school, people knew that Jeff boxed at the rec center. He wasn't great, but he knew how to keep his chin down and throw a punch without hurting his wrist. That was better than most kids his age. Jeff stayed where he was. Then it's over, Lou said. He reached for the phone, but Randy turned and tossed it to Keith. Keith wasn't ready. The phone hit his forearm, bounced off his shirt, and he pinned it against his stomach with one arm. Lou grabbed the exposed edge before Keith could get his hand all the way around it. Keith let the comb fall to the sidewalk. With his free hand, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folding knife and snapped the blade open with his thumb. He pointed it at Lou's stomach. "Back up," Keith said. Lou stopped where he was. Keith raised the wrist and pointed the blade at Lou's stomach. "Back up." Lou took a step back and Randy's smile dropped. Troy let Lou's bag fall to the sidewalk. Jeff moved between Lou and the knife. "Hey, just put the knife away," Randy said. "He came at me." "Yeah, and now he stopped. Put it away." Keith looked past Jeff at Randy. His thumb found the lock. His eyes dropped for half a second. Jeff stepped in and struck the inside of Keith's wrist with his forearm. The knife spun over the curb and landed in a strip of dead grass. Keith stumbled sideways, shouting and grabbing his hand. Jeff looked over his shoulder. Lou had moved toward the curb, watching the knife. Troy charged a few steps between them and drove his shoulder into Jeff's side. Jeff's hip struck the utility box. Randy's phone wobbled against the energy drink but stayed propped up, still recording. Troy caught a fistful of Jeff's shirt and dragged him away from the box, toward the curb. Jeff tucked his chin and turned into the grip, then punched Troy in the chest. Troy grunted but kept hold of his shirt. Randy rushed around Troy to Jeff's right. Jeff saw him too late. Randy's fist caught him across the cheek. Jeff threw a panicked, too-wide punch back, barely clipping Randy's ear. Keith broke toward the grass, but Lou reached the knife first and kicked it farther away. Troy kept one hand twisted in Jeff's shirt and shoved Lou down with the other. Lou caught himself on one hand and scraped his palm against the concrete. Jeff drove a punch under Troy's ribs. Troy folded and stumbled backward, dragging Jeff toward the curb with him. Jeff's heel came down on Lou's drawstring bag. The fabric slid under his shoe and he went down hard, scraping his elbow against the concrete. Footsteps rushed up behind him before he could get back up. Hand grabbed his hair. Jeff twisted into the pool and swung without looking. His fist connected with the jaw. Nia yelled at them all to just stop. Jeff got his right knee under himself. Troy still held him by the shirt. Jeff shoved at Troy's face, tore loose, and came up bent over. Keith kicked him once in the thigh, but when he went for a second kick, Jeff caught his foot against his hip and pushed. Keith fell into the utility box, hands catching the edge. In the same instant, Randy rushed Jeff from the front. His face was red and ugly. Jeff blocked the first punch and took the second against his mouth, his lips splitting on his teeth. In the adrenaline and the tangle of arms, Jeff's training came back to him. Chin down, feet under you, jab. He hit Randy once in the nose. Randy staggered. Jeff hit him again before he found his balance, and Randy went down on one knee beside the curb. Randy looked up at him. He wasn't smiling anymore. For the first time that morning, he looked scared. Now Jeff had room to step back. He could walk away and be done with the whole thing. Instead, Jeff grabbed the front of Randy's shirt with both hands and dragged him to the strip of dead grass beside the curb. One of the other students had a phone out now, held upright and shaking. Randy covered his face with both arms, but Jeff hit around them. One punch landed against Randy's cheek, another caught his shoulder, a third glanced off the top of his head. Jeff punched and punched until the bus brakes sighed at the corner. "Jeff, stop!" Lou screamed. Jeff hit him again. Lou grabbed Jeff's right arm and hauled him backwards. "Jeff, stop, he's done!" But Jeff twisted against him and punched Randy once more with his left fist. The bus horn blared from the corner. The doors folded open and the bus driver ran out. "Stop! Stop it right now!" Jeff finally looked up. The knife lay in the grass near the drainage ditch. Keith had backed away from it, and Troy stood beside the utility box with one arm pressed to his ribs. Randy was on the ground beneath Jeff, blinking through blood. Lou still had hold of Jeff's right arm. The driver came up behind them and grabbed the back of Jeff's shirt. Jeff jerked upright with one fist raised, then stopped when he saw the gray uniform sleeve. The driver forced Jeff back toward the curb and got between him and Randy. "Stay there," he told Jeff. Then he looked around at the rest of them. "Nobody leave." Randy rolled onto his back and asked for his phone. The words came wet through his split lip. Troy tried to straighten up, gave up, and sat beside the utility box. Jeff's hands were shaking now. His thumb was swollen. One knee of his jeans was torn open, and the scrape underneath burned in the air. A parent stopped her car. Then another. The driver called the police. Lou stood beside Nia several feet away. He was staring hard at Jeff's hands. Jeff lowered them, and Lou stayed where he was. The knife sat in a clear bag on the assistant principal's desk. Jeff watched a stripe of light from the blinds move across the blade while adults argued in the hall. Lou's scraped palm had been washed and covered with gauze. Jeff's lip had swollen enough to pull when he talked. Troy and Keith had been put in separate rooms. Randy had left with Aunt Tasha for urgent care. The school officer had taken Randy's locked phone and the phone for the student who'd been recording. Randy's phone contained the full recording. The students' clip started with Jeff standing over Randy. Jeff and Lou's mom arrived first, and their dad came in 2 minutes later wearing his work shirt. He smelled like sweat, cardboard dust, and machine oil. Nobody hugged anybody. The officer asked Jeff to tell it again. "Keith had the knife," Jeff said. "And then I knocked it away." And then Jeff looked at Lou. Lou stared at the evidence bag. "When Randy went down, I thought he was going for the knife," Lou said. Jeff turned toward him. "What?" The officer looked at Lou. "You thought Randy was going for the knife?" "I told Jeff not to let him back up." Mom crouched beside Lou. "Did you see Randy reach for it?" Lou rubbed at the tape holding the gauze over his palm. "Thought I did." "That's not what happened," Jeff said. "Let Lou answer," their father said. The officer glanced at the evidence bag. "What exactly did you tell Jeff?" "That Randy was going for the knife. I told Jeff to keep him down." "And after that?" Lou rubbed at the tape on his palm. "I realized I was wrong. I tried to pull Jeff off." Jeff tucked his hands under his thighs. He didn't correct Lou again, and the officer wrote down Lou's version. Over the next 4 days, the school compared the bus driver's statement, the shorter video from the student who had started recording after Randy went down, and accounts from 5 students who had seen different parts of the fight. Keith's father identified the knife as Keith's. The video showed Jeff hitting Randy and Lou pulling at Jeff's arm, but it started too late to show whether Lou's story was true. Randy's phone was still locked, and he hadn't given the school the passcode, nor had he told them that he was recording. Because Lou had admitted to telling Jeff to keep Randy down after the knife was out of reach, the district treated him as a participant in the fight. He was sentenced to 20 days at the district's alternative campus. Soccer tryouts landed in the second week, meaning Lou was going to miss them. Jeff was suspended, put on home assignments, and barred from the bus while the school and county decided what came next. The punishment spread into everybody's day. Their mother started bringing her laptop to school meetings so she could keep working between them, and their father took calls in parking lots before driving back to the warehouse. Their Aunt Celia lived closer to Lou's temporary campus, so once the punishment started, he would stay with her during the week and come home on the weekends. The placement packet arrived with all 20 days printed in little boxes. Lou set his soccer form beside it and checked the tryout date twice. His phone lit up with a message from Nia. Jeff caught, "I'm sorry," before Lou turned the screen over. "You can try out later," Mom said. Lou gave her the look he saved for people explaining soccer to him, the one who actually knew about soccer. Sure. Lou took the form upstairs. That night, Jeff found Lou packing. He folded his soccer shirts, unfolded it, and pushed it flat at the bottom of his duffel bag. Yellow bruising had spread along Jeff's jaw, and 2 fingers on his right hand were taped together. "You didn't have to do that," Jeff said. Lou kept packing. "You stepped in when Keith pulled the knife." "I know," Jeff said. "I didn't want them acting like you started the whole thing. I said I thought Randy was going for the knife, that's all." Jeff leaned against the doorframe. He had expected Lou to be glad he'd stepped in. "They were on you," he said. And then they weren't. "Randy would have kept going if I hadn't done something." Lou zipped the bag. "Maybe, maybe not. You definitely kept going." For a second, neither of them moved. Lou pinched the zipper and tugged even though the bag was already closed. Jeff stepped into the hall. "I was trying to get you your phone back." "I know." "Then why are you mad at me? I would have covered for you too. I wasn't the one who kept beating on him." With Lou gone on weekdays, the house stayed much too neat. Jeff's assignments arrived in thick packets, and Dad dropped the finished ones at school on his way to work. One afternoon, Jeff heard voices outside and looked through a bent slat in his bedroom blinds. Randy was walking past the house with Keith and Troy. Randy glanced toward Jeff's house before saying something that made Keith laugh. The next afternoon, Jeff waited on the low concrete wall beside the drainage channel, where Randy usually passed after school. He wanted to see whether Randy would still act the same with Jeff sitting there. When Randy came around the corner, he made eye contact with Jeff and then crossed to the other sidewalk. At the corner, Randy looked back over his shoulder. Jeff waited until he was gone and then walked home. 2 days later, Jeff was waiting for Randy again. Randy stopped at the far corner, stared at him, and turned around. Jeff watched until he disappeared between the houses, then walked home. Mom was already waiting for him in the kitchen. "You can't go looking for him," she said. Tasha had called after Randy came home. "I don't care if you spoke to him. I don't care what's going on. I just took a walk, Jeff said, and just happened to be waiting for him on his way home, twice. Jeff didn't answer. Dad set his phone down on the table hard enough to shake the silverware. The next time you want to go for a walk, it'll be with me. Jeff didn't see Randy for 3 days. On the 4th, he waited at his bedroom window until Randy reached the far intersection. He took a picture of him beneath the green street sign, made an anonymous Facebook account, and sent it to Randy with the message, "Find a better route." After that, Randy stopped passing the house. He stopped collecting fares, too. Nia told Lou told Mom, and Mom brought it up at dinner on Friday in a cheerful voice, as if the school had finally done something useful. Jeff ate his casserole in silence. He knew the school had nothing to do with it. Randy had stopped because of him. After dinner, Jeff was working through homework at the dining room table when Lou came in from the garage with one of Jeff's boxing pads. He held it over the packet. "Hit it," Lou said. "Why?" "I'm testing a theory." Jeff tapped the pad with his left hand. "Theory confirmed. You punch like an accountant." Jeff took the pad and smacked Lou across the back of the head with it. Lou grabbed the back of Jeff's hood and yanked it over his face, then took off running. Jeff pulled it back and chased him to the kitchen until Mom yelled that if they didn't stop, she was putting them both up for sale. Saturday afternoon, Jeff asked if he could walk to the corner store. Dad looked up. "By yourself?" "I've been stuck in the house all week." Mom and Dad looked at each other. Mom said, "Daniel, it sounds like Randy has started behaving himself. Maybe this whole thing has blown over." "Straight there and back," Dad said. "Yes, sir," Jeff replied. Jeff bought a drink and began heading straight home. He really wasn't going looking for Randy. But when he turned onto their block, Randy happened to be coming down Aunt Tasha's steps. They saw each other at the same time. Randy headed down the far corner. Jeff reached his own driveway, hesitated, and then followed. Randy stopped where 2 men were watching a truck across the street. "I stopped," Randy said. "I don't take anything from anyone anymore. I don't go near Lou. What else do you want?" "Why would I want something?" Jeff asked. "Just leave me alone." Randy walked away, and Jeff followed him until Randy started jogging. Jeff went home before the men with the truck could ask anything. He hadn't touched Randy. Still, the sight of him running stayed with Jeff the rest of the day. He smiled when he thought about it. Near the end of the month, their mother reminded Jeff and Lou about Milo's birthday party. They'd already accepted the invitation, and Tasha had called twice to promise that Randy would behave. "We're going," Dad said. "Everybody can show a little maturity for one afternoon, right?" "I'll be fine," Jeff said. He was still thinking about the way that Randy had run from him. On September 29th, Milo's 7th birthday party turned the Calder house into a Nerf gun war with cake. By 5, kids had taken over the living room, the stairs, and half the backyard, with the adults retreating to the kitchen and the patio. Jeff stayed near his dad while people asked him careful questions about school, then looked relieved when he gave short answers. He was considering hiding in the bathroom when Milo shot Lou in the neck. "Medic," Lou said, dropping behind the couch. Milo stood on the bottom stair in a plastic dinosaur mask. "No medics, you're a zombie. It's not how zombies work." Milo shot him again. Jeff laughed, then Lou fired blindly over the couch and hit him in the chest. After that, the rules changed about every 30 seconds. Jeff became the monster because he could carry 2 screaming children at once. Lou defended the hallway with a laundry basket. Nia had come with her younger cousin and joined long enough to betray Lou to a pack of first graders. Milo ran through the kitchen, nearly hit Aunt Tasha, and lost a strap on his dinosaur mask. Randy caught him by the shoulders. "Hold still," Randy said. "They're coming." "They can wait. Your face is sideways." Randy fixed the strap, wiped icing from Milo's ear, and sent him back with a handful of darts. 5 minutes later, Jeff cornered Milo near the garage door and made a show of searching behind stacked patio chairs. Milo crawled under a card table, doubled back, pressed a foam dart to Jeff's spine. "You're dead." Jeff fell carefully with one hand beside his head. Milo climbed onto his stomach and announced the kill to everybody in range. Lou dropped behind him, laughing into his elbow. For a while, Jeff stopped checking where Randy was. Nobody watched his hands unless he was carrying ammunition. Lou stole a juice box from the cooler and pushed it into Jeff's hands while they reloaded behind the couch. "You let him get you," Lou laughed. "He outplanned me. He hid under a table. It was a good plan." Jeff fired a dart into the back of Lou's shoe. Lou grabbed the pouch and dumped the darts over Jeff's head. There, now you're out of ammo. Jeff threw an empty juice box at him. Randy carried more juice boxes outside, stopped Keith from firing darts near the little kids, and gave up his chair when Tasha came through with food. When Jeff stood, 2 older boys by the kitchen laughed at the dart stuck to his shirt. One asked if his next fight was going to be at a princess party. Randy heard him and laughed. Careful, he'll put you in the ground over a tea set. The boys laughed harder. Jeff pulled the darts off one at a time. Randy turned to carry a stack of plates out to the patio. Jeff went into the garage to grab a drink. The overhead garage door was half open. Behind the party supplies sat a mower, metal shelves, a red fuel container beneath a bench, old paint, and extension cords feeding a radio and lights. The birthday cooler blocked the side door until Mr. Calder dragged it away. Keep the kids out of here, he told Randy. I know. Mr. Calder pointed at Keith and Troy. That means everybody. Yes, sir, Randy said, in the same voice he'd used with Mrs. Kemp at the bus stop. Jeff went back inside. Lou had Milo by both ankles and was pulling him off the cushioned fort while Nia objected. Then Randy stepped beside Jeff and held up his phone. The paused image showed Keith's knife open near Lou's hand. Jeff's shoulders tightened. Where'd you get that? Randy kept his voice low. My phone, remember? He skipped ahead. Jeff was over Randy in the grass. Lou had hold of Jeff's right arm. Bus doors stood open behind them. They only saw the clip that got passed around, Randy said. This clears Lou, but it also shows the rest. Send it then. I will. Randy didn't move. His eyes flicked toward the door to the garage behind him. So send it. After you say what happened. The video says what happened. I want you to say it on camera. Randy's words came one at a time, as if he'd practiced them. I want you to say Lou didn't tell you to keep me down. I want you to say you kept hitting me after he told you to stop. I want you to say you stalked me, took a picture of me, and threatened me. Then I'll send the whole thing to the school and we're done. And if I don't? Jeff asked. Randy reached behind him and opened the door to the garage. Keith was waiting near the partly raised overhead door. Troy stood a few feet inside. Jeff looked toward the living room. Lou had let go of Mila and was arguing with Nia about whether couch cushions counted as body armor. He was smiling. Randy lowered the phone. Don't make him lose even more for you. Randy walked into the garage. Jeff followed. Randy went to the rear workbench and held the phone at chest height. Troy moved with him and planted himself between Randy and Jeff. Keith stayed near the partly raised overhead door. Evening light came through the gap and cut across his shoes. Jeff stopped a few steps inside the garage. The side door was open to his left where the cooler had been, with the yard beyond it. Say it once, Randy said. Nobody has to do anything stupid. I'll put my part on it too. Randy hit record and turned the phone toward himself. His hand shook, but his voice didn't. I took Lou's phone. Keith had the knife. Me and Troy hit Jeff after Jeff knocked it away. He swallowed and turned the phone back toward Jeff. There. My part's on it. Do yours, and I send the full video tonight. What the hell? Keith said. Randy lowered the phone a little. It's already on the full video. You could have told me you were going to put my name on this, Keith said. Randy looked at him. You want me to stop? Keith glanced at Jeff, then shook his head. No, get his part. Troy moved half a step aside. The way to the side door was completely clear now. Jeff looked through the open side door at the yard. If Randy sent the full video, Lou might come home early. All Jeff had to do was say it. Randy kept the camera on him. Say Lou didn't tell you to keep hitting me. He thought you were going for the knife, Jeff said. No, he never said that. He told you to stop. Keith said, that part's on the video. Randy ignored him. And you kept hitting me after he told you to stop. You jumped us. I took his phone. You started it. Fine, I started it. Randy took a breath through his nose. Say what you did. The sentence was easy. I kept hitting him. He could say it and give Lou a chance to come home early. Then Randy would have Jeff saying all of it in his own voice. He could cut it, show it, hold it up whenever Jeff came near him. Randy's hand was shaking, but he kept the camera up. Jeff reached for the phone. Troy grabbed his forearm. Jeff jerked free. Back off, Randy shouted. Randy kept filming. Randy had brought Troy and Keith to back him up while he told Jeff what to say. He could just walk out. Randy would stand there behind Troy and think he'd made Jeff back down. No. Jeff went for the phone again. Troy stepped in front of him. Jeff drove his shoulder into Troy's chest because there wasn't enough room for a real punch. Troy shoved him into a metal shelf and cans rattled above Jeff's head. Keith jumped away from the overhead door. Jeff hooked Troy's elbow. Troy's heel caught a sack of potting soil and both of them crashed against the workbench. Randy moved sideways and hit a folding table. Randy's phone hit the concrete and slid under the lowest shelf. Jeff ducked and tried to grab it, but Jeff stuck his foot out and kicked it deeper. Troy wrapped both arms around Jeff's waist. Jeff hit his head with cramped punches and Troy drove him into the mower. The mower rocked into the bench. The red fuel container tipped from beneath the bench and struck the concrete with a hollow crack. A sharp fuel smell pushed through the sweat and hot dust. Keith froze. Stop, something broke. Get the phone, Randy said. He bent toward the shelf, but Jeff shoved Troy away and caught Randy by the shirt. Randy came up swinging a metal dustpan. The edge clipped Jeff's temple and flashed white through his vision. Jeff lunged at Randy. Randy went backward into the storage rack. The rack shifted with a long metal scrape. All four of them stopped and looked up. Boxes slid first. A plastic bin hit Randy's shoulder. Then the lower shelf folded and the rack came down across his legs, driving him beneath the bench. Keith and Troy dropped and scrambled for the gap under the overhead door. Randy! Troy turned around on his knees. He reached under the door, caught the end of the rack and pulled. It moved less than an inch. Falling metal had yanked an extension plug partly from the wall. Blue snap jumped at the outlet. Heat hit Jeff's legs. The first flash was low and fast. It vanished, but the things around it didn't. Plastic tablecloth curled back, cardboard caught beneath the bench. Flames moved across the dark spill onto the mower and climbed the fallen rack. Randy screamed. One sleeve was on fire. He beat it against the concrete and tried to drag his legs free at the same time. Troy crawled back under the overhead door. Keith held his waistband while Troy got both hands under the rack. They moved it about an inch before Troy lowered his face toward the concrete. Can't move it, he coughed. Get somebody, help! Keith was already shouting toward the patio, but neither of them ran. They stayed at the opening, yelling and pointing to the smoke where Randy had fallen. Jeff backed away from the heat. His shoulder struck the side door frame. One more step would have put him outside in the narrow yard. Cool air hit his face. Mr. Calder ran toward him with the fire extinguisher from the kitchen. Somebody on the patio was yelling the address into a phone. Jeff lifted one hand toward the garage. Mr. Calder was close enough now to hear him. Through the side door, below the lowest shelf, Randy's phone screen glowed beyond the nearest flames. The video was still in there. Lou pulling at his arm, the extra hits when Randy was already out of the fight. Randy's admission, Jeff reaching for the phone. He could leave it. Let Randy hand everyone his version of what happened. No. Mr. Calder reached the gate. Jeff heard him shout Randy's name. Jeff lowered his hand and turned back. Mr. Calder came through the gate and grabbed for Jeff's shirt, but missed. Jeff ducked into the garage with his left arm over his face. The air inside felt solid. Heat found the side of his neck and the exposed skin around his left eye. He took 2 steps, picked burning cardboard away, and crouched for the phone. Randy lay an arm's length further in. He'd stopped trying to lift the rack. His good hand opened toward Jeff. Help me! Jeff reached under the shelf and closed his fingers around the phone. Something burning dropped from above and landed across his left shoulder and the side of his neck. Jeff screamed. He slapped at it. The burning material folded against him instead of falling away. Heat climbed under his jaw. He twisted hard enough to lose balance, and his left hand went flat into the burning spill on the concrete. The pain was so sudden that his arm gave out. His face dropped toward the floor. Heat washed across his entire left side. Jeff screamed again and jerked backward. His head struck the shelf. For a second, there was no garage. Only white light and a high-pitched sound inside his skull. When the room came back, his left eye would not open. Something was still burning against his shoulder. He clawed at it with his right hand and tore it away. Skin came with the fabric or plastic or whatever it was. He couldn't tell. He could feel nothing except a burning so deep it seemed to come from inside him. He curled onto his right side and screamed till he ran out of breath. For a moment, there was nothing but pain. Then he remembered the phone under the shelf. His right hand planted against the concrete. One knee came under him. He was crawling toward it before he realized he was moving. His left eye stayed shut. The right one blurred and cleared, blurred and cleared. The floor seemed to tilt every time he moved his head. He reached the phone with his left hand, but his fingers wouldn't close around it. He tried again. Nothing. He used his right hand instead and dragged the hot case free. Smoke filled his mouth when he breathed. He coughed so hard his forehead struck the concrete. For a moment, he forgot which direction the door was. Then he saw the rectangle of yard. He started toward it. One knee, both knees. His right hand stayed wrapped around the phone. The burning on the left side of his face had changed. It was deeper now. He worried that his skin had fallen off, that his insides might be melting onto the floor. His eye watered beneath the lid, but he could not make himself open it. He crawled. Somebody was shouting his name, but he didn't know who. He reached the doorway and saw grass. Hands caught his belt and his right arm. Jeff screamed and fought them. Easy, easy. Mr. Calder and another man dragged him into the yard. The phone stayed locked in his right fist. Jeff rolled onto his side and tried to curl around his left arm. Somebody grabbed his shoulder and he screamed so hard his voice broke. Keith stood somewhere beyond them. "You were out," Keith said. Jeff looked toward him with one eye. Keith's face kept slipping in and out of focus. "You got out." Jeff tried to answer, but he wasn't sure that anything came out. People were yelling over each other. Someone told him not to move, someone else shouted for water and got screamed at not to use it. Dad appeared beside him, then disappeared, then was there again. Jeff could not remember seeing him arrive. Mom dropped to her knees nearby. Her hands hovered over him because there was nowhere safe to touch. Jeff, look at me." He tried, but his left eye would not open. The right one found her face and then lost it. Behind them, men forced the overhead door higher. The extinguisher went off inside the garage. Randy screamed. Jeff heard it, but the sound seemed far away. Sirens swallowed the rest. The next part came in pieces. Firefighters moving through smoke, Troy pointing, Randy being dragged out, somebody cutting Jeff's shirt away from his neck. Scissors touched burned skin and Jeff screamed again. A paramedic said something about his eye. Another voice told him to keep looking to his right. Jeff tried to sit up. Hands forced him back down. When someone reached for the phone beneath his right arm, Jeff pulled it tighter against himself. "Leave it. Leave it." Dad said his name twice. Jeff looked down. The case had melted crooked. The screen was black. His fingers opened. He remembered the phone falling into the grass. He did not remember being lifted onto the stretcher. The next thing he knew, the sky was above him and somebody was saying his name. "Jeff, stay with me. Look at me." He opened his right eye. A paramedic leaned over him. "There you go. Keep looking at me." Across the yard, another crew bent over Randy. Aunt Tasha stood barefoot in the driveway with Milo pressed against her side, his dinosaur mask hanging from one hand. Jeff blinked. They were farther away. He blinked again. The ambulance doors were closing. Lou came running out of the house. Jeff saw him for maybe 1 second before the door slammed shut. Jeff woke up in the middle of a conversation about his eye. Somebody said that once the swelling went down, his left eyelid might not even close all the way. The ceiling above him was white and made of squares. He counted 4 before the room blurred at the edges. When he tried to open the eye wider, the lid barely moved. His mother was asleep in a chair on his right, her shoes still on. He tried to turn his head. Pain caught along the left side of his neck and pulled down into his shoulder. It felt like the left side of him had been stuck to the bed with a hot glue gun. "Don't move your head," a nurse said. Jeff kept still and shifted his eyes toward the voice. She stood on his right. "Can you see my hand?" "Yeah." She held up 2 fingers. 2. He moved the hand left. He lost it sooner than he expected. "Still 2, he said. The nurse sighed. His mother stirred awake, then stood too quickly and hit her knee on the tray table. Water jumped in a plastic cup. "Jeff? I'm here." She tried to smile, but her mouth shook instead. She covered it with one hand. There were dressings over the left side of his face, neck, shoulder, and hand. The nurse explained them while she checked tubes and wrote numbers on a board. Jeff stopped listening after she said graft. His mouth tasted like old pennies. His left hand sat in a padded splint that held his fingers apart. His mother's eyes went to the hand. "Don't force it." Everybody keeps saying that. "Because you keep forcing things." The next days came in pieces. Drops in his eyes, somebody lifting the dressings, cold air where cold air had no business being, pain medicine that made the television drift sideways, a therapist bending his fingers while Jeff stared at the clock and tried not to cry out. A kid in the hall waved at him through the open door. Jeff raised his good hand. The kid's dad pulled him along without looking inside. Jeff's own phone had been in his pocket during the fire and was ruined. His mother brought him an old tablet from home, but the hospital internet was useless. I almost died and I still have to watch an ad before every video, Jeff said. His father looked up from the insurance forms. That's how they get you. His mother stared at both of them. What? Jeff asked. She shook her head. Lou wasn't allowed in for the first 2 days. Their parents argued about it in the hall, quietly at first, and then not quietly. Jeff heard his father say Lou had seen enough. And then his mom said Jeff was awake and asking for him. Jeff's father said that wasn't the same as being ready. The third day, Lou came in holding a phone charger. What's that for? Jeff asked. My phone melted in the garage. Lou looked at the charger. Oh. Good visit. Panicked, okay? He set it on the windowsill anyway and sat down on Jeff's right. He still hadn't looked at the dressings. You can look, Jeff said. I am looking. At half of me. Lou finally looked at the dressings. It was on a fire, Jeff said. So were you? Yeah, I noticed. Lou poured him a glass of water. Mom says he went back for Randy, Lou said. Jeff drank. The straw clicked against his teeth. Mom says a lot of stuff when she hasn't slept. Lou looked down at his hands. Did you? I went back. Lou didn't ask again. He nodded once and started telling Jeff about the dog next door getting loose during the fire. It had run all the way to the gas station and climbed into somebody's car. The story wasn't funny, exactly, but they both laughed anyway. A detective came the next morning. She asked her questions slowly. Where had Randy been when the fire started? Who had the phone? Why did Jeff go back inside? Randy was inside, Jeff said. I tried to get him out. The detective watched him for a moment, then looked down at her notes. Randy woke up briefly last night. Jeff's mother stopped arranging medicine bottles. He said you came back for the phone. He was burned and drugged, Jeff said. I understand. It can mean anything. The woman asked 2 more questions and then left. Jeff's mother stayed beside the window after the door closed. What? He said. Nothing. And stop looking at me like that. She turned toward the glass. Parking garage filled most of the view. Lou brought the white hoodie on his next visit. It had been washed twice. The drawstring tips were warped, but the front was clean. You want me to wear that? Jeff asked. Eventually. Bold medical plan. They should put me on staff. Lou folded it over the back of the chair. Jeff could see it from the bed. It looked the same as it had before the garage. That helped more than the flowers people sent from school, though he didn't say so. 11 days later, Randy died. Jeff was in hand therapy when his mother came in. She stood by the sink and waited for the therapist to finish bending his index finger. Jeff, she said. She knew before she could say anything else. The therapist released his fingers. They sprang halfway back toward the shape of the splint. Randy died this morning. Jeff looked at his hand. They said he was getting better. He had an infection in his lungs. They said he was getting better. His mother pulled the stool closer. Jeff put his fingers back in the therapist's hands. Do it again. We can stop, the therapist said. I didn't say stop. She bent his index finger. Jeff watched the joint move and kept his face still. Jeff's father took phone calls in the corridor. His mother started asking exactly who had entered his room and why. Lou visited, but sometimes Jeff woke and found the chair empty because their parents had sent him home. That made him sad. School held a memorial while Jeff was still in the hospital. Lou brought the program folded inside his jacket. The front used Randy's 9th grade picture, which made him look 9 years old. Inside, people had written that he loved Milo, his family, and working at the grocery store. Jeff counted the word loved 7 times. Jeff went home on October 16th. His parents had turned the dining room into a supply station. Gauze, tape, drops, gloves, lotion, pill bottles, printed schedules. Jeff's father had put a chair in the shower and screwed another handrail into the wall. Lou carried Jeff's bag upstairs and set it inside his room. He pulled out the white hoodie he'd brought to the hospital and draped it over the desk chair. Jeff followed him in. Things looked just as he'd left them. The first time since the garage, Jeff didn't feel like he was being watched. Jeff shut the bedroom door and stood there until his left shoulder started to shake. Then Lou knocked. "What?" "Mom says don't lock it." Jeff opened it again. "Welcome home," Lou said. By the middle of November, Jeff could shower without a chair and button his jeans if nobody rushed him. But he could still not raise his left arm much above his shoulder or close his left hand without significant effort. Most evenings, his mother changed the dressings at the dining room table while Lou held the tape or opened packages and his father read instructions aloud, even though everybody had already heard them. The freedom of privacy he'd felt when he first came home disappeared quickly. It had been used up by forms and sponge baths and people asking what number the pain was. By then, the eye drops were just another thing the house had to keep stocked. On November 17th, they ran low. His parents were both at work. The pharmacy was 6 blocks away. "We could walk," Lou said. Jeff looked at him. "Or we could wait until Dad gets home and listen to Mom explain corneal dryness for 40 minutes. "That's tempting." Lou had already put on his shoes. Jeff wore his white hoodie. He kept the hood up because the air hurt the left side of his face. He told himself that it wasn't because he was hiding. The first block was fine. A woman raking leaves said hello. Jeff said it back. Lou walked even with Jeff's left side, like he was trying to keep anyone passing by from getting a clear look at his injuries. "You don't have to do that," Jeff said. "Do what? Walk like you're the Secret Service? Well, you are a high-value target." "I'm a person going to a pharmacy." At the next corner, Lou checked both ways 3 times. "How's Nia?" Jeff asked. Lou stepped off the curb. "She's fine." "That convincing, huh?" "She asked how you were." "And you said?" "Ugly but brave." Jeff bumped him with his right shoulder. Lou bumped back, careful enough that it felt somewhat degrading. The pharmacy lights were worse than outside. Everything looked polished and too close together. Jeff's eye was watering before they even reached the counter. A little girl in a purple coat stared at him from the greeting card aisle. Her mother saw, took her by the shoulder, and turned her toward the birthday cards. 2 teenagers near the refrigerator lifted a phone to record. One of them whispered something. The other laughed. Jeff stopped where he was. "Let's just keep going," Lou said. "They're filming." Lou looked. Phone dropped. "Maybe. You saw it." "I saw 2 idiots buy the milk." The cashier called them forward. Lou grabbed a gallon of milk on the way to the counter. She asked for Jeff's date of birth and whether the address on file was current, then rang up the drops and milk without staring at him or acting extra nice. Jeff handed over the money. His left fingers missed the change when she gave it back. 3 coins hit the counter. "Sorry," the cashier said. "It's fine." She waited while he picked them up one at a time. An older man behind them stepped forward when Jeff moved aside. "Thanks," he said, already looking at the card reader. He never looked at Jeff. Outside, Lou sat with him on the low brick wall by the cart return until Jeff's eyes stopped watering. Cars came and went, nobody took a picture. Lou complained that Nia had started ending texts with punctuation, which apparently meant that she hated him. "Maybe she learned about periods," Jeff said. "Don't be disgusting." "This is turning into a really romantic pharmacy walk," Jeff said. "You really know how to treat a guy." Drops, whole milk, leaf piles. Nia would be jealous. Jeff carried the milk with his right hand. The plastic handle cut into his fingers by the 4th block, but he didn't give it to Lou. At home, the side gate caught against the ground. Jeff lifted it by the latch and pulled. It opened with its usual rusty jump. Their mother was waiting in the kitchen. "Where were you guys?" "Pharmacy," Lou said. "Without texting me?" "We got the drops," Jeff said. He put the bag and receipt on the counter. Lou set down the milk. Their mother looked at the 3 things, then at both of them. "Next time, just text me before you leave." "So there can be a next time?" Jeff asked. She put the drops in the cabinet and the milk in the refrigerator. For a few days, the walk stayed what it had been. 6 blocks, bad lights, a boring cashier, Lou making dumb jokes. Then Jeff started thinking about the teenagers by the refrigerator lifting their phone. After a while, that was the part he thought about the most. Next week, when Lou asked if Jeff wanted to walk to the corner store, he said no. It was fine last time, Lou said. You weren't the one that they filmed. You don't know that they filmed you. That was the problem. Jeff wasn't sure. He pulled the hood over his face. After that, Jeff started skipping the parts of his treatment nobody could make him do. He began missing the morning drops and saying he'd done them already. He stopped wearing the hand splint at night because he hated waking up with his fingers spread as if trying to make them the shape of someone else's hand. Whenever his mother caught him, he just said that he forgot. In December, the school sent a re-entry plan. Half days at first, extra time between classes, a pass to leave crowded rooms. The counselor had highlighted the words supportive transition in yellow. His father read the whole thing at dinner. We can drive you in and pick you up, he said. First week, second week, however long. We tell them what entrance, we tell them who can call us. Dad had been acting like this ever since Jeff came home, turning every problem into something he could fix with a scheduled or special arrangement. I know how school works, Jeff said. I'm talking about the plan. I can read. His mother set down her fork. Then read it and tell us what you want changed. Want them to stop making plans for me. Okay, then what's your plan? Jeff pushed the pages away. There were more appointments. A surgeon talked about range of motion, an eye doctor talked about moisture and scarring. Everybody had a picture of a future Jeff in their head, and all the pictures involved another waiting room. At home, his mother caught him peeling a strip of dressing loose. Leave it alone. It itches. That doesn't mean pull it off on your own. You don't know what it feels like. No, I don't. She held out her hand. I know what the doctor said. Of course you do. You can be mad at me, but you still have to let me change it. Jeff let her. He sat with his face turned away and let his arm hang limp while she worked. That night, Lou brought the PS3 into Jeff's room and messed with the settings on Mortal Kombat so that Jeff could play with mostly his right hand. Jeff picked Scorpion. Lou picked Sub-Zero. They played 3 matches. Jeff lost the first 2 and won the third when Lou reached for his phone midway through it. Doesn't count, Lou said. I was distracted. Screen says it does. Doctor ordered a sympathy win. For an hour, things felt like they were back to normal. Jeff forgot all about the splint on the desk beside them. But when Lou left, Jeff glared at it, then decided not to put it on. On Christmas morning, their father propped a phone against the sugar bowl and set the timer. The family stood in front of the tree. Lou made rabbit ears behind their mother. His father hurried into the frame. When the flash went off, Jeff's left eye snapped shut. By the time the glare cleared from his right eye, everyone was looking at the screen. His mother picked up the phone. Jeff saw the picture for less than a second. The left side of his face mottled pink and waxy white, the new skin shiny and pulled tight from his cheek to his neck. His left eyelid was swollen and crooked, and patches along his jaw were dark with scabs. His mother deleted it, but Jeff hadn't asked her to. She didn't like the way he looked now. If he asked, she would blame the flash or promise another picture later, but she had deleted it before he could decide whether he wanted it. Jeff went upstairs before presents were finished. The picture stayed with him. The burned side of his face, the swollen eye, the scabs along his jaw, and then the other corner of his mouth, still smooth and normal like it belonged to somebody standing beside him. A few weeks ago, that would have been the part he was glad to see. Now, it bothered him. Since the fire, somebody else was always deciding what happened to his body. Don't touch this, keep that covered, put the drops in, wear the splint, let me change the dressing. The surgeon could tell him what would loosen, the eye doctor could tell him what might get worse. His parents could make plans for when he went back to school. The fire had done whatever it wanted to him. Everybody afterwards seemed to think the rest belonged to them. That night, Jeff pressed a fingernail into the untouched corner of his mouth. He dragged it across the skin until it burned and turned red. By morning, most of the redness was gone. The next night, he did it again. Harder. It healed anyway. On the third night, December 27th, he took the small fruit knife from the drying rack. Upstairs, he stopped in his room and took the white hoodie from the desk chair. He carried both into the bathroom and set the hoodie beside the sink. Jeff stood over the bathroom sink and got to work. First cut was too shallow. It hurt more than he expected, and his eye flooded until his reflection broke apart. He let go. The knife clattered against the sink. He pressed a towel to his mouth and waited. The blood slowed. When he lowered the towel, the ordinary corner was still there. His right hand closed around the knife again. His left hand couldn't hold his cheek steady, so he cut without it. The line went crooked from the right corner of his mouth into the unburned skin beside it. When he was done, his knees shook so hard that he had to sit on the toilet. When his knees steadied, he rinsed the knife. Pink water ran around the drain. He wiped down the sink twice. Then he looked down at his hoodie. He had liked that it looked the way it did before the fire. Now, he wanted to see his new self in it. Jeff pulled it on and raised the hood. The hood boxed in the mottled skin and the crooked new cut. Dark hair stuck to the wet side of his face. When he looked up, the hall light caught his left eye and made it close. The untouched corner was gone. The bathroom door opened. Lou stood there wearing only a pair of shorts and one sock. For a moment, he didn't move. "What did you do?" Jeff lowered the towel. "Nothing. Jeff?" Their mother called from downstairs. "Everything okay?" "Bottle fell," he called back. "Clean it up." "Yeah." Lou backed into the hall. "Where are you going?" Jeff asked. "To get paper towels." He didn't come back. Jeff wrapped the knife in the towel and put it in the hoodie pocket. By morning, the bandage had bled through. Jeff told his mother he'd scratched the skin beside his mouth open in his sleep. "Let me see." "I already changed it." "That isn't what I asked." He turned the bandage toward the wall. His mother stayed in the doorway. "I'm calling the surgeon." "Okay." Breakfast. Lou pushed a spoon around a bowl of cereal without eating much. Jeff waited for him to say something about last night, but he didn't. When their mother left the room, Jeff touched the edge of the bandage. "Are you going to tell her?" Lou kept looking into the bowl. "Oh no." He carried the bowl to the sink. The surgeon could see Jeff the first Monday after New Year's. Until then, his mother checked the bandage every morning. After Jeff knocked the clean gauze from her hand, she settled for checking the bandage without removing it. She asked if it smelled wrong, if the pain had changed, or if he felt sick. He told her no. Lou took the PS3 back to his room. He started turning the other way when he saw Jeff. On New Year's Eve, his father called everyone outside because somebody down the street had fireworks. Jeff came halfway downstairs. Lou was telling a story by the front door, both hands moving, but when he saw Jeff, he stopped. Their father looked between them. "Something going on?" "No," Lou said. "No," Jeff said. Jeff went back upstairs before the fireworks started. By Friday morning, Lou barely spoke to him unless one of their parents was in the room. Jeff got dressed while the house was quiet. Fruit knife was still wrapped in the towel at the bottom of his desk drawer. He took it out, slid it into the hoodie pocket, and closed the drawer. He didn't want to leave it where Mom could find it. He was halfway down the stairs when Lou's voice came from the kitchen. "Jeff, stop!" Then there was a dull smacking sound. Jeff stopped with one hand on the railing. A few seconds later, he heard it again. "Jeff, stop!" He went downstairs. Lou sat at the kitchen table with both elbows beside his phone, staring at the screen. He didn't look up. Jeff saw his own back first. The white of his old shirt, Randy under him, Lou's hand reaching in from the edge of the frame. "Where'd you get that?" Lou grabbed for the phone, then stopped. "Keith sent it." "Why?" "I messaged him and Troy this morning." Jeff came down the last few stairs. "About what?" "About what happened before the fire. They were both in the garage. You never told me what you were doing in there with them." Lou opened Keith's thread. His message from that morning was still at the top. "Can you tell me what happened in the garage before the fire started?" Keith had answered. "Randy was trying to get Jeff to admit you never told him to keep hitting him. He said if Jeff admitted it on camera, he'd send the full bus video to the school so you could come home. Then, Jeff wouldn't do it. He went for Randy's phone instead. And then, Randy gave me a copy of the bus video before the party, said to keep it if Jeff came after him again." The video file sat beneath the message. The last thing Keith had written was, "I should have sent this sooner. Sorry." Troy still hadn't answered. Lou turned the screen around and tapped the attachment. Jeff watched Keith's knife appear, watched himself knock it away, and watched Randy go down. His own fists kept moving. Lou's voice came through the speaker. "Jeff, stop! Jeff, stop!" Jeff hit Randy again. Lou grabbed his right arm. Jeff twisted free enough to land one more punch with his left. Lou looked back at Keith's message. "Randy was trying to get you to tell the truth." Jeff said nothing. "He was going to send the video in so I could come home. He wanted me saying whatever he told me to say on camera. He wanted you to say what happened." "Same thing." Lou shook his head. "No, because telling the truth would have helped me." Jeff reached for the phone. Lou pulled it against his chest. "You could have just said it," Lou said. "You could have gotten me out of there. Randy brought Keith and Troy in there to corner me. And you went for the phone anyway. You don't know what happened. Keith was there." Jeff looked at the phone. "I went back for him. Randy said Randy could barely talk. Randy died." Lou stood up, still holding the phone. "Don't make his death something you did for me." Jeff could feel the cut beside his mouth pull under the bandage. "Everything I did was because of you." "No." Lou shook his head. "You don't get to put that on me. After you lied for me?" "I lied for you once. I said I told you to keep him down. I didn't. I was trying to stop you." Lou grabbed his phone and called their mother. Jeff laughed. "Seriously?" Lou put the phone to his ear. "Mom," he said, "you need to come home." Their mother arrived within 15 minutes. She read Keith's messages standing at the kitchen table, then watched the bus video. She played the end twice. Then she looked at the bandage beside Jeff's mouth. "Where's the fruit knife?" "What?" "Small knife from the drying rack is gone." Jeff shrugged. She took the knife block from the top of the refrigerator and carried it into her bedroom. She came back for the kitchen shears. "That's a little dramatic," Jeff said. "Sit down." Jeff did, and she called his father. "Daniel, Jeff cut his face with the kitchen knife," she said. "I can't find it. Come home." Lou put on his shoes. His phone stayed in his hand. Their mother went upstairs with her phone and shut herself in Lou's bedroom. When she came back down, she checked the front door, then the side door, and put her phone back in her pocket. Jeff watched her from the kitchen. Their father came into the house and through the kitchen wearing his work jacket, his keys in one hand and his phone in the other. "Car's out front," he said. "Shoes on, we're going." Their mother nodded toward the foyer. Lou moved first. Jeff stood and followed. The front door was open. Cold air moved through the foyer, carrying the smell of wet pavement. His father's car waited at the curb with the lights on. "Where are we going?" Jeff asked. "The hospital," his father said. "Your mom called ahead." Jeff looked at her. "When?" "While I was upstairs." "They can be ready for me?" "So we don't sit in the waiting room for 4 hours." Lou stood beside the coat hooks. He had his jacket on. Lou had his jacket on and the phone shoved halfway into a pocket. Jeff stared at him. Every time Lou shifted, their mother shifted too, keeping herself between them. "Evaluation," she said. "We go in, tell them what happened, and listen. You already told them what happened. Told them enough to get help." Cold air touched the wet bandage beside Jeff's mouth. His shoes were already on, and his father had left a straight path through the open door. Lou looked at him, then stepped back behind their mother. Lou was scared of him now. Jeff hated that. He'd stepped between Lou and Keith's knife. That was the part Lou should remember. Jeff stepped in front of the open door. He pulled it shut behind him and put his back against it. His father stopped several feet away. Their mother and Lou stood beyond him at the bottom of the stairs. "Jeff," his mother said. His father put the car keys in his coat pocket and the phone in his chest pocket. "Move away from the door." Jeff looked past his parents at Lou. "You watched Keith pull a knife on you, and I'm the one you're afraid of?" "Watched you keep hitting Randy after I kicked it away," Lou said. "He was defenseless." Her mother put a hand on Lou's shoulder and turned him toward the stairs. "Go up to your room," she said to Lou. Jeff's father took one slow step toward Jeff. "Take your hands out of your pocket." Jeff realized his right hand had been inside the pocket since he was in the kitchen. His fingers were wrapped around the fruit knife. The handle was warm. "Why?" "Because I'm asking you to. Act like you're my boss." "Jeff?" His father raised both hands, palms open. "Take your hands out, then we walk to the car." Lou put one foot on the first stair. "We're not done," Jeff said. Lou kept going. Jeff pushed away from the door and started toward Lou. His father stepped between Jeff and the stairs. "Don't. Get out of my way." His father didn't move. "Take your hand out." Jeff pulled the knife. His mother sucked in a sharp breath. Lou stopped on the first stair. The knife looked smaller than it had in the bedroom. A cheap thing with a narrow blade and a green handle. "Rebecca, take Lou upstairs," Jeff's father said. "Call 911. Their mother stepped onto the stairs behind Lou and pushed him upward. "Lou, wait." Lou kept going. Jeff tried to get past his father. His father caught Jeff's right wrist with both hands and drove him backward. They hit the front door hard enough to knock one of the framed school pictures from the wall. It struck the tile and broke beneath their shoes. His father forced the knife away from both of them. "Drop it." Jeff grabbed the front of the work jacket with his left hand. His fingers closed late and caught only fabric. His father shoved the wrist holding the knife against the wall beside the door. "Drop the knife." Jeff drove his knee forward. His father turned and took it against his thigh. The impact knocked him sideways, but he held on. Jeff drove his knee into him again. His father's shoulder struck the door. The knob rattled. Glass ground beneath their shoes. His father wrenched Jeff's arm down and slammed the knife hand against the wall. Pain shot into Jeff's thumb. The blade jumped at his grip but did not fall. His father hit the wrist against the wall again. Jeff drove his forehead into his father's cheek. The healing cut at the right corner of his mouth split open further along the cheek. Blood ran over his lower lip and across his teeth. His father staggered, dragging Jeff with him. Jeff tried to pull the knife free, but his father twisted the wrist until the blade pointed at the floor. Jeff heard his mother shouting above them. Lou's bedroom door slammed shut. His father drove Jeff into the narrow wall beside the door. The burned side of Jeff's neck scraped the paint. His left shoulder folded against his chest, and his hand opened uselessly against the work jacket. His father pinned the knife wrist to the wall with one hand. With the other, he grabbed the doorknob and pulled the front door open. Cold air swept across the foyer. His father caught the front of Jeff's hoodie and drove him toward the opening. Jeff's heel skidded through the broken glass. One shoe crossed the threshold and landed on the porch. "Get the fuck out of my house." That was the last thing his father said. Jeff planted his left foot against the inside of the doorframe and twisted. The movement tore through his shoulder, but his right wrist came free. The knife was between them again. His father still had one fist closed around the front of the hoodie. His other hand reached for Jeff's wrist. Jeff looked at the hand gripping his hoodie. It was the same hand that had held the boxing pads for him in the garage, steadying them whenever Jeff's wrist started to bend. His father's eyes dropped to the knife. Then they came back to Jeff. Jeff drove the knife forward. The point snagged in the work jacket. Jeff pushed harder. The blade struck something solid, slipped sideways, and sank between his father's ribs until the green handle hit the jacket. His father's body locked around it. The fist holding the hoodie pulled Jeff closer instead of letting go. Breath came out against the side of Jeff's face, hot and unfinished. For a second, they stood against each other in the open doorway. Jeff could feel his father trying to draw the air back in. His father looked down at the knife, then looked at Jeff again. His mouth opened, but the only sound was a thin, wet click. Jeff pulled the blade free. Blood followed it through the torn jacket and ran over Jeff's fist. His father pressed one hand against his side. When his legs folded, the hand came off the wound and struck Jeff's chest, leaving a dark print on the white hoodie. His other hand caught the doorframe, but he still sat down hard against it before sliding onto the foyer floor. One leg remained stretched across the threshold. "Dad?" Lou shouted from upstairs. His father tried to push himself onto one knee. His palm slid through the blood beneath him. He pressed harder against the wound and dragged in a breath that stopped halfway. A red thread ran from the corner of his mouth. Jeff stepped over his leg and pulled the front door toward him. His father's boot blocked it. Jeff kicked the boot once. His father's leg moved but did not clear the frame. Jeff kicked it again, harder. The heel dragged through the blood on the threshold, and the door shut. His father rolled onto his side. One hand remained pressed against his jacket. The other reached across the floor toward the door. His fingertips slipped against the tile. Jeff watched his chest rise once. Lou still hadn't taken back what he'd said in the kitchen. Jeff began to walk upstairs. Lou's bedroom door opened before Jeff reached the top landing. His mother stepped out with a wooden laundry hamper held in front of her. Lou stood in the doorway behind her. Her eyes went past Jeff to the foyer below, where his father lay on his side with one hand pressed to his jacket. "Get inside," she told Lou. Lou hesitated. He was staring past her at Jeff. "Now."
Lou backed through the doorway. His mother tossed her phone past him onto the bed. She remained on the landing and pulled the door shut, leaving herself alone in the hall with Jeff. Lock it. Bedroom door clicked. Jeff reached the top step. His mother drove the hamper into his chest with both hands. He caught it with his left hand. Pain tore through his shoulder and the hand fell away. She pushed him back down 2 steps. His heel missed the edge of the second. He caught the railing before he fell. Blood from his father's jacket had soaked through the front of his hoodie and felt warm against his chest. His mother drove the hamper at him again. Jeff knocked it sideways with his right forearm. It struck the railing and cracked, spilling a towel down the stairs. One side split away and hung by 2 narrow strips of wood. Before he could get around it, his mother stepped into him. She caught his right wrist the way his father had and folded it against his chest. "Your dad needs help," she said. Her face was inches from his. "Leave Lou alone. He called you." "Yes." "He showed you." "Yes." She didn't sound like she was sorry. Jeff shoved her against the wall. She held on. Her thumb dug into the inside of his wrist. He struck her forearm with his left hand, but the fingers would not close enough to make a fist. "We were taking you to the hospital," she said. "You were taking his side. There aren't sides." Behind the bedroom door, Lou was talking fast. Jeff heard the word address, heard him say his father was hurt. His mother drove her forehead into the open cut beside Jeff's mouth. His teeth went through the inside of his cheek. Blood filled his mouth. The hallway rolled and his left eye closed. He pulled back on instinct. He twisted his wrist until the knife pointed at the floor. "Lou," she said louder, "go!" Jeff heard the bedroom window scrape in its frame. Jeff stomped on her foot. Her grip broke. He slashed upward. The blade went through her sleeve and opened the outside of her forearm. He caught the broken side of the hamper with both hands and swung it. One of the wooden strips struck Jeff across the burned shoulder. His left arm dropped. He hit the wall and almost went down the stairs. His mother stood over the broken hamper and came at him again. Blood ran from her forearm to the elbow and dropped onto the landing. She stayed between him and Lou's door. "Move," Jeff said. "No." She reached for the knife. Jeff drove the blade into her ribs. Her body folded against his, but her hands closed around her wrist before he could pull away. For a moment, she held the knife inside herself. Then Jeff tore it free. Blood spread across the front of her shirt and ran over her waistband. He caught the front of his hoodie with one hand and the knife wrist with the other. Jeff pulled. Her bloody palm slid down over his knuckles and almost stripped the knife away from him. She sank to one knee. Jeff tried to step around her. She wrapped both arms around his legs and pulled him against the wall. "Go, Lou!" The window banged open all the way. Jeff brought his elbow down between her shoulders. She held on. He hit her again. Her blood soaked through the knee of his jeans where her stomach pressed against him. Downstairs, the front door rattled once and then stopped. Her arms slipped lower. Jeff got one foot loose. Cold air moved up the stairs. His father had gotten the front door open again. Lou was still fighting the window. His mother tightened both arms around Jeff's leg. Jeff bent over her and drove the knife into the hollow above her collarbone. Her body jerked against his leg. When he pulled the blade out, blood ran hard over her shoulder and across his wrist. She tried to say Lou's name, but it broke apart in her throat. Her arms loosened. Jeff stepped free. His mother fell onto her side beside the broken hamper. One hand dragged across the carpet toward Lou's door. Jeff stepped over it and tried the bedroom handle. Locked. His bloody hand left a partial print on the knob. He knocked once. "Lou?" No answer. Wind came through the room and pushed cold air under the door. Behind Jeff, his mother drew a wet, uneven breath. Jeff put his mouth near the wood. "Open up." He heard Lou drag something across the floor. "I just want to talk." "Open the door." "No." Jeff slid the knife into the gap beside the latch. The tip barely fit. Blood made the green handle turn in his palm. He tightened his grip and worked the blade up and down, cutting paint and chewing the edge of the frame. "The police are coming," Lou said. "You shouldn't have called Mom." "I had to." "No, you didn't. I'd opened the door for you." Jeff pushed the knife deeper. The latch moved a little. "You closed it," Lou said. Jeff lowered the knife and drove his right shoulder into the door. The frame shook but held. The impact jarred his burned neck and sent pain down his left arm. Behind him, his mother's heel scraped once across the carpet. "I lied about saying Randy was going for the knife," Lou said. "That's all. You knew why I went for Randy." "I knew why you stepped between me and Keith's knife," Lou said. "After that, everything was you." Jeff hit the door again with his right shoulder. Wood split near the latch. The door opened 2 inches and struck something heavy. Lou had wedged the desk chair under the handle. Jeff forced his right arm through the gap and knocked the chair sideways with the knife. Lou kicked it back. One of the chair legs trapped Jeff's wrist against the frame. He yelled and jerked free. The blade carved into the door instead of Lou. The splinter drove beneath Jeff's thumbnail. He shoved again. Lou braced the chair with both feet. "You don't get to make Randy my fault," Lou said. Jeff put his shoulder into the door and pushed until the muscles in his right arm shook. The chair slid an inch, then another. Something shifted behind him. He looked back. His mother's hand had stopped short of the bedroom door. Her fingers opened against the carpet and did not close again. Jeff shoved harder. The broken latch tore out of the frame, the chair skidded backward, and the door opened. The room was dark, except for the desk lamp on the floor. The window stood open. Lou had moved the chair between them. Their mother's phone lay on the bed with a voice coming out of it. Lou held his own phone in both hands. His eyes moved over Jeff's face, the knife, and the dark stains covering the front of the white hoodie. "Delete the video," Jeff said. "Stay there. Give me the phone." No. Blood ran from Jeff's fist to the tip of the knife and dropped onto the carpet. Lou edged toward the window 1 step at a time. As he moved left, Jeff had to turn against the pool in his neck and shift to keep the chair on his right. "You sent the video to someone," Jeff said. "Not yet. Liar." "I called Mom. I didn't send anyone the video." The dispatcher on the bed asked if anyone could hear her. Jeff heard sirens somewhere in the distance. "You told them what I look like," Jeff said. "They know what you look like." Lou's heel touched the wall below the window. He glanced at the opening. Jeff moved. Lou kicked the chair. It hit Jeff's knees. Jeff caught the top rail with his left hand, but his fingers slid. The chair turned sideways between them. Lou raised the phone. Flash filled the room. White slammed into Jeff's left eye and went straight through his head. He shut both eyes. The blindness lasted less than a second. But it was enough. Lou pushed past on Jeff's left. Jeff swung toward the movement. The knife cut through Lou's jacket and opened the back of his right upper arm. Lou cried out. The phone struck the floor and skidded under the desk. Jeff opened his right eye. Lou had his left hand clamped over the wound. Blood pushed between his fingers and ran into the sleeve, but he was still moving. The picture glowed on the phone screen beneath the desk. It showed Jeff in the broken doorway with the knife raised. Blood covered his mouth and shone across his teeth. The white hood framed one open eye. His father's handprint crossed his chest, and the rest of the hoodie was streaked with blood from the stairs. Behind him, one of their mother's hands lay open on the carpet. Jeff grabbed the back of Lou's jacket with his left hand. His bad fingers closed around a fold of cloth. He yanked before they could open. Lou fell backward into him. They struck the side of the desk and went down together. The desk lamp rolled across the floor, dragging its cord after it. Lou landed on his injured arm and screamed. Jeff rolled him onto his back and planted his left forearm across Lou's chest. The arm shook beneath Jeff's weight. He held the knife over Lou with his right hand. Lou caught Jeff's wrist with his right hand. "Take it back," Jeff said. Lou looked from the knife to Jeff's face. "No. Say I protected you. You didn't." Jeff pushed down. The point of the knife touched Lou's jacket below the collarbone. Lou's right arm trembled as he tried to hold Jeff's wrist away. His left hand came off the wound and struck the burned side of Jeff's face. His palm slid across Jeff's mouth. 2 fingers snagged on the reopened cut at the right corner. Lou pulled. The cut tore farther across Jeff's right cheek. Jeff screamed and jerked his head away. The knife point ripped through Lou's jacket and scored the skin beneath it before striking the floor. Lou drove his knee into Jeff's burned shoulder. Jeff's left arm collapsed. His hand opened and released the jacket. Lou rolled out from beneath him and scrambled toward the window. Jeff caught the back of Lou's jacket again, but only 2 fingers held. Lou twisted, putting his bleeding arm between them. "Jeff!" Jeff pulled. His fingers opened. Lou hit the floor, got both feet beneath him, and went through the window feet first. Jeff reached the window sill as Lou dropped onto the garage roof. The roof was lower than it had looked from inside. Lou landed badly, one knee down, and nearly slid over the gutter. He caught himself with his good hand. Jeff climbed onto the sill. His left shoulder struck the raised window. Pain ran down his hand. He tried to swing one leg through, but his shoe slipped on the frame. Below, Lou crossed the roof sideways. His injured arm hung close to his body. At the edge, he sat and swung his legs over. Jeff got one leg through the window. Blue light moved across the neighboring roof. Lou slid off the edge and hit the grass. He stayed down for half a breath, then got up and ran toward the side gate. Jeff pulled his leg back into the room. He watched from the window as Lou hit the gate. It stuck. Lou lifted it by the latch, pulled, and squeezed through. Torchlights came on across the street. A man stepped out of the Alvarez's house and looked toward the sirens. Lou ran at him, touching his injured arm and shouting something Jeff could not hear. The man's eyes dropped to the blood on Lou's jacket. He opened the door wider. Behind Jeff, the dispatcher kept asking for an answer. He picked up their mother's phone from the bed and ended the call. But that did nothing about the sirens. They were close enough now that red light joined the blue on the walls. Jeff went into the hallway. His mother lay beside the broken hamper. Blood had spread beneath her neck and soaked into the carpet. She did not move when he stepped past. Downstairs, a dark trail crossed the foyer. The front door stood open. His father had gotten it part way before collapsing across the threshold. His chest was still. He went through the kitchen and out the side door. The yard was dark except when the lights moved over it. Neighbors stood on porches. Somebody pointed toward the Alvarez's house. Jeff kept the fence between himself and the street and crossed behind the shed. The drainage path beyond the back lot led away from the houses. At the corner of the yard, he looked back once. The Alvarez's door shut behind Lou. Jeff turned away before the first cruiser reached the corner. The boy counted 4 more breaths. He listened. No one else was breathing beside the bed. He opened his eyes just a little. The doorway was empty. All beyond it was dark. He did not wait for the loose board. He slid out from under the blanket, raised the window, and climbed onto the garage roof. The shingles scraped his palms. At the edge, he lowered himself as far as he could and dropped. He hit the grass and went down on one knee. Shoe scraped across the shingles above him. He got up and ran. Mrs. Palmer's kitchen light was on across the yard. He ran to it without looking back and knocked until she opened the door. "Call the police," he said. "There's a man in my house." She pulled him inside and swung the door shut. It stopped against Jeff's shoe. Mrs. Palmer screamed and shoved the boy behind her. Jeff forced the door open and stepped into the kitchen. The knife was in his right hand. "Stay away from him," she said. Jeff looked past her at the boy. "He was safe with me." Mrs. Palmer reached for the phone on the counter. Jeff struck it from her hand with his left forearm and drove the knife beneath her ribs. As she folded against him, he looked over her shoulder at the boy. "Go to sleep."